Hello, everyone. This is Kathleen Smith over at ClearedJobs.Net, and I'm joined by my co host, Rachel Bozeman. Both of us are the hosts of Security Cleared Jobs Who's Hiring and How. We meet with so many great cleared recruiters, and each time we talk with them, they have some great job search tips. So rather than going back and having to listen to the entire episode, we thought we'd bring some of those tips to you today. So, what's our first tip today, Rachel?
Yes, we are here for it. Some quick tips so you can be successful in your job search and in your interview. And the first one came from Jessica Albosta, the COO at ANSER. In case you don't remember what ANSER is known for, they are a nonprofit founded in 1958 by the Air Force as a public service research institute. So, what's the tip that Jessica gave us? Well, it's making sure that when you're talking to the recruiter, you're investing in that time and that you have available time to really have a conversation with them. Remember, the recruiter isn't just recruiting for one role within an organization, they know everything. And by everything, I mean all of the different roles that the company is hiring for. And so, as you're having that really good, well conversation with them, they may think, you know what, in listening to you, you might be a better fit for this role. So, take the time, spend time with that recruiter, and really make sure that you can get the perfect role for you.
That is really great because I don't know how many times I've heard from recruiters that said, I wish we had a better conversation with that candidate because I get the inkling that they're better for another position. So be sure you're having overall really great conversation with someone. And bring your entire A game to it. Be sure you're talking about why you want to work there and what value you're going to bring because that is going to help grow that relationship. So, the other tip we heard that was absolutely fabulous was when we were talking to Wilton Virgo, the Director of Analysis Working Group over at OSD CAPE. Now, what do all those acronyms mean? That is the Office of the Secretary of Defense, Cost Assessment and Program Evaluation. Wilton describes OSD CAPE as sort of part think tank, part consulting firm, and all around analytical powerhouse. There's all these different things that, they do that just sort of help people analyze what's going on. So his tip was being sure that you understood your audience. So being able to speak to them in a way that just says, I truly understand that the people that I'm talking to may not be as technically capable as I am. So, understanding your audience, being able to play that translator between the technical skills into the value it brings to the program, and really understand that not everyone's going to know what all of your certifications mean. They might not, understand the different programs you're on.
Mhm.
So, be sure that you can adapt the value, adapt your content that you're in the interview with to the audience that you're talking to. What's the next one, Rachel?
Oh, yes, this is a good one. Hannah Nyberg, People and Culture Manager over at BlackSky. And y'all probably remember BlackSky, but in case you don't, it's a unique government contractor that owns and operates those small satellites in low Earth orbit. Just have to share because it's such a great perk. Their employees have the ability to log in and task a satellite to select imagery of their choosing. Not every day, but it's something, a really cool perk that is available to their employees. But I digress here. So let me tell you about that job tip because that's what you're here for. So, something that Hannah really called out that I think is so important, especially in the industry, is you don't want to look like a job hopper. But how do you do that if you're on the same contract, but maybe the contract has changed hand and gone to different employers? Well, it's pretty simple, my friend. Call it out. Subs and primes, they change on contracts all the time. It's not uncommon. But what could be a real miss is if you don't call it out. If you've stayed in the same role and you followed the contract to a new employer, make it clear on your resume. Put it in parentheses. Company A, previously Company B, continued the contract. Call it out, make it simple, give the recruiter a pass here and let them know, hey, I really didn't change anything. I've been performing the same functions, just with a different employer. Kathleen, what do you think?
I think that's great because that's something that happens a lot of times. And there'll be many times when I'll look at a resume and I'll like, you were here for a year and a half and here for a year and a half. It is really explaining that you stayed on the contract, you stayed in the position. It was just your employer, the government contractor, who changed. Another great tip that we got from Doug Munro, Senior Talent Acquisition Specialist over at Information Management Group. Now, IMG is a small business focused on IT and cybersecurity. One interesting tip at IMG is if you have a full scope poly and want to transition your career into more IT and technical, IMG will be sure that you get trained so that you can apply all of your skills in the technical field and learn on the job, which is a really unique opportunity. So Doug, a longtime recruiter in the cleared space, he's a big one for saying, don't consider the ATS to be the boogeyman. It is not the ATS that is saying you're not going to go through with the interview. It is the recruiter who's going to make the decision. But you need to be very helpful in this and making sure that your resume is clean. No fancy graphics, no bolding and italics and things like that. And being sure that your resume tells a story. It's not a lot of fodder about I'm detail oriented and I do all these great things and I'm a creative thinker.
I
Be
can
sure
multitask.
multitask. Yes, I have business skills. Sorry, keep it simple. Keep it to the things that you really do. And be sure that you've read the job description. You know the buzzwords, you know the keywords that are in there. And if applicable, again, if applicable, be sure that they are in your resume. Another tip that my dear friend Doug shared with us is be sure you're researching the company and understand the recruiters are hiring for that company and connecting with them. Again, making sure that you have recruiters in your network is one of the biggest step ups that you will have in your overall career. Rachel, what's our next tip?
It came from the one and only Jennie Sikes, Director of Talent Acquisition and Management at Golden Key Group. Golden Key Group, they provide so many great human resources to the federal agencies and the military. But I loved her tip here. It's the best way to navigate an interview is don't make it an interview. Make it a healthy conversation. It can be a real two-way conversation. It really puts people at ease, both the person being interviewed and the people that are doing the interviewing. When you just have a conversation, those walls, they just start crumbling down. You can have a more healthy, organic conversation where the path may turn out somewhere completely different than it started because you now are both humans and you're having a conversation, and it gives the recruiter the opportunity to understand more about you, your wants and your needs, and they can help tailor the conversation in that way. Kathleen, I know you have another great one. Give it to
Well,
us.
well, before we go to that one, I just want to
Yeah.
dovetail on that one because a lot of times when you're going in for the second or third interview, you're talking to a hiring manager, and you have to remember hiring managers can be nervous as well. So you're nervous, they're nervous. Somebody's got to break the ice. Somebody has got to have a good conversation. So, take a deep breath and let's talk about the weather. Let's talk about traffic. Let's talk about, where you went to college. Let's make it a conversation, not just a very stilted conversation where you're getting the information out. So, our last tip today is from Kelly Newman, Senior Engineering Manager over at General Dynamics Mission Systems. Kelly actually has worked for the same company for over 28 years, supporting the Space Development Agency, one of my favorites. And he had such a great tip, which is, yeah, live long and prosper. Oops, not doing it right. Yeah, my fingers are not working today. Kelly had such a great tip, which was if you don't know the answer, say you don't know the answer. Don't try to flub it up and come up with something fancy because all you're going to do is show that you really don't know the answer and you're not going to be open and honest in the interview and not open and honest in the job. And that's what Kelly was really looking for. He was really looking for someone to be willing to say, you know what? I don't know, but I'll work toward the answer or I'll research it or I'll find out. And I really was glad that he reminded us of that in his recorded interview. And I really think that people need to go back and listen to that one. So look in the show notes for that one. That's our tips for today. Rachel, any closing thoughts?
We know that you got it in you. Nail that interview. Get that resume out there. It's been a pleasure.
Take care of everyone.